There we go. Welcome back, everyone. Conversations on Vitality. James Gardner, Ariel Jarvis. Woohoo! All right,
Hello,
Ariel, how are
hello.
you? Woohoo! How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Happy July 4th.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I know. I'm here in White Rock. I literally can see my homeland. It's right there.
It's weird, eh? You could like swim
It's right,
across.
right there. I know. I could actually. Totally.
Yeah.
Um, and happy post-Canada Day to you and our community out there, far and wide. So we have some Americans tuning in, some Canadians tuning in. So happy, amazing long weekend to all of us, because it's a long weekend for both of us. There you are. Ariel, today we're gonna talk macronutrients, micronutrients, what they are. We hear this term. This term it's been around a long time. However, it's becoming more and more used on a daily basis in terms of getting healthy, diet, performance, all of these things, which we're going to break down. And you're also going to share with us too an insight into, obviously not all macronutrients are the same, and which is the most important one for our health and longevity. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. All right. I'm going to start the question, Ariel. We hear it. Macronutrients, micronutrients. What are they?
Yeah. Well, this is a great question, and I think it's really important to understand our food, right? We eat food to get energy, and food gives us a bioenergetic value. Okay, so think of certain foods as, giving us a certain amount of voltage for the day, or sustain us for a certain amount of hours until we need more voltage, depending on our lifestyle, right? So the more active you are, the more energy output, therefore the more energy input. But not all food is the same. Some gives you more energy, some gives you less energy, some takes energy because it requires more energy to break down than it's actually providing. There's so much around the bioenergetics of our food. And so when it comes to being a holistic nutritionist, which is a little bit different than a dietitian, a holistic nutritionist looks at your body's ability to absorb the receptors. You have receptors like this, you have food like this. It looks at the way your body actually responds perfectly to that fit, that bioenergetic value of the food. And so if you have certain bioenergetics, your cells have a receptor and everything needs to fit perfectly so that you have proper optimized absorption, okay? So that you can get the most out of your food. Whereas certain foods, the processing, things like that, they will have a lower bioenergetic value. A dietitian does not look at that. A dietitian looks at all carbs are the same, all fats are the same, all proteins are the same. It's just numbers and ratios. So you need this many grams of this many grams of that. Doesn't matter the source, it's all the same. They don't take a look at the cultivation, the harvesting, the processing, the added ingredients, nothing like that. And so when it comes to our macronutrients are fats, carbs, proteins. Okay? Our micronutrients, meaning we need smaller amounts because it's microscopic. Micro would be our trace minerals, which helps with glandular function and glandular performance. Ionization, also known as your thyroid, right? There's so many different glands in your body that need ionization to function, meaning voltage. You have to have a specific voltage. And how many people out there are running around and they feel really drained, really tired, they go get their blood work done, and to their surprise, their thyroid is not functioning properly. So what do? They think it's a sugar problem or a glucose problem, but it's actually an absorption problem. Their ionization and their micronutrients are either deficient or not being absorbed properly because it's the wrong fit. Okay, so when it comes to the most important macronutrient between the fats, the carbs, and the protein that we need every single day for optimal performance, for your brain, for your gut, for your blood sugar, to prevent against blood issues like type 1, type 2 diabetes and insulin resistance, to support against your autoimmune, to support your overall lean muscle mass, to support your immune system in terms of building your immune system. Remember, your immune system is made up of amino acids. and vitamins A, C, E, selenium, and zinc. And so those are your trace minerals, right? So what are amino acids? Protein. Protein is the most important macronutrient. But not all protein is absorbed the same, and not every body is getting the required amount per every 3 hours, because your body can only absorb so much protein per 3 hours.
Right. What is that? Because I've heard varying amounts, varying grams of protein per window of absorption. What is it in your book?
So it's not actually based on your weight. It's based on how much muscle your body currently has. Because you got to remember, your weight doesn't mean anything. Your weight could be water weight. Maybe you haven't had a bowel movement. Maybe you have a tumor. Maybe you're carrying a lot of unwanted fat, right? So the muscle, you have to make sure that in order to provide the right support for the lean muscle mass, you have to give yourself the accurate amount of amino acids through your protein to support the amount of amino acids that you have in your muscles. Okay, so there is calculations you can do online, and you can figure out. Usually, you would stand on a scale, and those fancy scales that tell you how much lean muscle mass you have. So let's say you have 85 pounds of lean muscle, then that means that you would cut that in half, and that's how many grams of protein you need a day. If you're just wanting to maintain, if you're wanting to grow, that's a different story. And if you are doing wear and tear on your muscles, right, that's another story. So there's a few factors that come into play.
Sure. Okay. Because it's the same old adage where, for example, some of these gym people, gym monkeys will go out there and just take all this protein, but in reality, their body can only assimilate X, and everything else is just wasted. Is that correct?
Yeah. So because coming from the fitness field, a lot of fitness athletes, they are taking in too much protein, but they're doing it for a different reason. And a lot of times it's actually to suppress hunger, because when they're training to go on stage and they're getting ready to, be in their best shape and compete physically, whether it's bodybuilding or anything like that, they have to take into consideration how much water is in vegetables, right? So we know vegetables are carbs. Carbs are glucose. Glucose gets stored as glycogen. When you're going down to such a low fat percentage, you actually have to start to remove your greens, right? So to help them so they're not hungry, they'll eat protein, because protein never gets stored as glycogen. So carbs get stored as glycogen, sugar, and your complex, your simple carbs, your fruit, your vegetables, all of that gets stored as glycogen. And so they're trying to pull out the glycogen out of the muscles so that they can go on stage and be super lean and dried out. And so they'll consume a little bit more protein than maybe necessary, and that's just more to balance their insulin and their blood sugar to help them sustain until they can get on stage.
And is it true? I know we're kind of going on a tangent, but it's protein related. We have to be mindful of liver. Is it kidney?
The kidneys. Yes.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
With protein.
So that's why it's really important to understand your macronutrients and to understand why you're consuming the levels that you're consuming. So if you're just daily maintenance, and you're consuming X amount of protein per day, your kidneys get taxed based on the amount of protein that you're consuming, right? So you want to make sure that you're constantly cleaning your kidneys out with water. And that's why not all water is the same.
Right.
So you want to use ionized water to remove any of the plaque buildup that's in the kidneys that can create uric acid, also known as gout. So we want to be careful that we don't develop gout, right? Or we don't want to create any inflammation in the body by too much plaque buildup within the kidneys. So I always tell people you have to hydrate. So about 1 liter for every 50 pounds you weigh, right? To flush the system, to flush the kidneys. And we have an amazing product here called K, and it's our kidney care support. It's a capsule. And so it's just a bunch of botanical herbs that help your kidneys flush. But if you didn't want to take a capsule, you can also take food form, large amounts of parsley and cilantro, right? So those are so incredible for flushing your kidneys and to remove any of the plaque buildup that could be building up from just excess protein. And it will protect you long term if you are noticing that you have, issues in the family. Maybe there's been family members that have been on dialysis, or they have low kidney function, or maybe you've already had a kidney removed, or whatever that might be. But parsley and cilantro are going to be your friend.
Great. So, Ariel, we've established that protein is the most important macronutrients, and I want to touch base a little bit on why that is in terms of its function to the body. We know protein builds muscle, but I know it's more than just that. But first, what I want to do for our viewers, because I think this is important, I want to just go back to dietitian versus nutritionist. So, can you give our community an example of how a dietitian would work with, let's say, a typical meal versus what a nutritionist would do? Because I think it's really important for people out there to really grasp that.
Yeah, so a dietitian would sit down with you and say calories in, calories out. They're all the same. So they would sit down, they would do your BMI, they would sit down with you with your goals. And let's say you just want to figure out how many calories you need to consume a day to maintain where you're at. So then they would tell you, okay, you need to be eating this many calories. And they'll be like, well, does that mean that I can fit in my McDonald's run? They're like, yeah, as long as it fits in with your calories. Okay, does that mean that I can have my bag of chips and my ice cream and my cookies and my chocolate bars and all that? Yeah, as long as it fits within your calories. And that can be very dangerous because those foods have a poor energetic value. And so they're going to steal energy as you break them down in the body. And they're not going to provide you with the energy that your body needs to sustain you throughout your day. And so that can turn into highs and lows and crashes, and that can really affect blood sugar and mental health and overall inflammation and your ecosystem of your gut. So we'll start to notice that someone who's on the standard American diet, but they're maintaining a 1,200 calorie diet, maybe 1,500 calorie diet, their body composition, their mental health, their clarity, their skin, everything is not the same. And then you look at a holistic nutritionist like myself, who actually studies and understands the difference between acidic foods and alkaline foods, foods that are high in vitamins and minerals, and foods that are high in calories and low in vitamins and minerals. Because at the end of the day, it's not so much that you're trying to consume all these calories, you're trying to consume the macro and micronutrients in the food that provides you with the sustainability for mental clarity, for physical performance, for digestion, for elimination, all these sorts of things. And so that's where the difference is very important.
Yeah, so it's basically on one hand, it's pulling up to a pump at a gas station. On one hand, you have the dietitian with just regular unleaded, fill you up, do your thing. And then you have a nutritionist who will always steer you towards making choices that are super, super fuel to maximize whatever it is you're doing, weight loss, performance, all of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So protein, getting back to the most important macronutrient, protein. Why?
Yeah.
Why protein?
Great question.
Why?
First of all, our body is mostly protein, and our skeletal system is made of alkaline minerals. And then we have all of our muscle fibers and everything, all the connective tissues made out of protein. Your immune system is made out of protein. Your hormones are made out of amino acids, your neurotransmitters. So your body's like a computer system. Your entire central nervous system is run on these axons and dendrites and neurotransmitters and all that. But the way that those cells connect is in the form of amino acids and proteins. And so when we start to have low connection in the body, every time, as a practitioner, when I look at people's diet, I'm like, where's your protein? And people are so deficient in protein because it is such a hard macronutrient to get into your diet every single day. Unless you're in the kitchen cooking chicken every day, but if you're vegan or you're vegetarian, it can become very hard to find those macronutrients if you don't know what you're doing, right? Like I had one client and she was a vegan, and she, you think vegans and vegetarians are healthy, and I dissected her diet a little bit, and she was eating Oreo cookies. Oreo cookies, it says on the label, vegan. That must be healthy. Doesn't mean it's healthy. Her diet was high in processed sugar and processed flours, and she was very overweight, and she thought she was healthy, and she was very frustrated. And that's the thing. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and you can be a healthy vegan and a healthy vegetarian if you do things properly, if you know what you're doing in terms of your fats, your carbs, your proteins, and the sources they're coming from. If you don't, then I would always say seek some help if you want to go vegan or vegetarian. If you want to go carnivore, where you're, introducing some of your fruits and vegetables and your meats, quality is very important. We all know this, right? You don't want to just, be thriving on bacon. That's not the best quality. But when it comes to amino acids, with our lifestyle nowadays, not everybody has the ability to put the time and the love into preparation for their food. It's about convenience. And so a burger is convenient, but that doesn't mean the quality of the meat is going to be good for your body. So we need to get back to clean eating, and we need to get back to understanding our macro and micronutrients and where our deficiencies are, so that we can strengthen our weaknesses and we can be proactive with our health. And that's where I come in, right? Because then I can explain to you and customize it, because your lifestyle, you might be the type of person where you're using more brain power. So we need more things to feed the brain. Maybe you're doing more physical, like landscaping or something. Well, then you need more physical. But I encourage you to take a look at your current diet and just start introducing more protein and really cutting out the processed foods. And if you're not sure what a processed food is, anything that comes in a package, even if it's in the healthy aisle, if it comes in a package, then try to start eliminating those things. Go to the produce.
Yeah. Can you, since we are a very convenient-based society, a lot of people go to, obviously, protein supplementation. I know we're almost at time, but can you touch on that real quick in terms of giving the community what to look for specifically, whey isolate, casein, all of this type of protein that's out there. What should someone look for?
You want to look for an incubated protein. So protein requires enzymes so that it can be broken down and absorbed efficiently in the gut. So you're looking specifically for protease enzymes in the protein powder. You're looking for incubated protein. You're looking for all 20 essential amino acids, so that you don't have to try to find the other essential amino acids throughout your daily living. It's nice to have the convenience of all 20 that you need every day in one serving. And you want to make sure that the protein powder is very low in carbohydrates and very low in sugars, right? Otherwise, you can tend to have more of a bulking effect. So if you're looking for a bulking effect because you're bulking, then don't even worry about that. But if you're looking to just have a clean protein, you want to take a look at either a whey isolate. And for those of you that are sensitive to dairy, if you incubate it, meaning you add boiling hot water, but remember, it has to be one that you can incubate. Not all whey protein powders you can incubate. So there's ones that are specific, and we can help you with that. Then when you break it down, you're actually able to break down the structure of the protein powder. So you're removing the casein and the lactose and any sort of dairy component that's going to create inflammation in the gut wall. And so a lot of people, when they incubate their protein powder, if they had a sensitivity to dairy, they no longer do, because you remove the sugars, you remove the lactose, the dairy, the casein, all that, and you just got the power of the protein powder. Not all protein powders are the same. There's good quality and bad quality. If you're looking just to take it with some water, There's really good ones out there that are from New Zealand. New Zealand has different standards than other protein powders. They have higher standards. So you can look for like a BioSteel, right? Or a New Zealand Whey. Those ones are good. And there's so much research around the absorption of protein powders. Some protein powders, they say 30 to 35 grams per scoop. That doesn't actually mean that's how much you're absorbing. So that's a marketing tactic. That's how much is in the powder. But once it goes into the gut wall, if it's not incubated, you only absorb about 15% of that 30 to 35 grams. I know. When I learned that, I was like, oh my goodness, I am spending so much money on protein and I'm only getting 15% of it. So you always want to try your best to get your protein from food first. But if you are a person, maybe you're a truck driver or maybe you're just on the go, then get yourself a protein powder that's low in carbs, low in sugars, and it's a whey isolate. If you're going to go with a plant-based one, my favorite would be the hemp. There's a really good one. There's a hemp protein powder because you want to stay away from the grains. Grain protein powders are not the best just because they can really start to gung up your joints. So just being mindful of that. And really taking a look at the nutritional value because the plant-based ones, usually just because it is a business and they want to make money, they'll throw a bunch of pea protein in there, which is really cheap. It's a poor quality protein powder and it's cost effective. So the companies will make more money and they'll be selling you a product that's not the best for you.
Right.
And it's a lot harder for, people out there without knowledge to get a plant-based one because you have to look at, well, is it organic? Is it non-GMO? Otherwise, it's just a chemical soup. Do you have all 20 essential amino acids? What's the carb levels? What's the sugar levels? So there's a lot around that, unless you're taking it specifically as a meal replacement. So I feel like we could talk all day about protein powders, but that's just a little snippet. So I would encourage you, if you don't know where to start, just pick up the phone, give us a call, and we can give you a free consult to point you in the right direction.
There you go. And you are a holistic nutritionist, getting back to that conversation we had. So you are somebody that can help steer a person towards making food choices, fuel choices for themselves that will put them in a better vantage point to achieve whatever it is they're trying to achieve.
Absolutely.
Amazing. All right. Well, Ariel, this has been great. Macronutrients, micronutrients. Protein is number one. Not all proteins are the same. Not all macronutrients are the same as well. So be mindful of that, gang. Ariel, parting words for anyone out there. Pick up the phone. You said that. That's pretty much it. Mic drop. Yeah. However, what's one macronutrient tip you can give somebody right now? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Honestly, I would just say that it's very, very important to meal prep. Just meal prep. If you don't know what to do or where to start, where to go, what restaurants, what this, what that, just meal prep. Get yourself set up for the day. Get all your meals. Make sure that there's some protein in there, and pick the proteins you like. Keep them clean, right? Not deep fried. And just start there. And then you'll start to see how your body will transform.
Awesome. Great tip. Ariel, amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to our community out there. And we will see you all next week, same time.
Awesome. Thank you. Bye.